what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk today about South Africa and the Korean War. South Africa sent an air force to the Korean War. They were the 2nd South African Fighter Squadron, nicknamed the Flying Cheetahs. The Flying Cheetahs did amazing things in the Korean War. Where they really shined was in 1952, where they bombed a lot of key North Korean hydroelectric plants and munitions factories. They flew with and alongside the U.S. Air Force. The U.S. Air Force commanded them, and they flew alongside the U.S. Air Force in 1952 and bombed a lot of key North Korean hydroelectric plants as well as munitions factories. The U.S. Air Force really appreciated all the South African Air Force's contributions to the Korean War, and they highly decorated the Flying Cheetahs. Prime example, okay, on July 23rd, 1951, there was very bad weather that day. However, despite that, the South African pilots bombed their target on the Han River. It was a key North Korean bridge on the Han River. However, because the weather was so bad, a pilot named M.L. Haley, his plane crashed, but a pilot named Roelof Mikhail de Pluy did not go back to base. He stayed with M.L. Haley and did the best he could to keep the invading Chinese and North Korean forces from capturing M.L. Haley. However, due to bad weather as well, de Pluy's plane crashed, but the United States was so grateful and impressed with de Pluy, they awarded him the Silver Star, which was a very rare medal to get, but he was awarded the Silver Star for his bravery. Unfortunately, M.L. Haley was captured and he eventually died, but his sacrifice is not in vain. And also, Frederick Martinus Becker, he was a South African pilot. He flew on that same day as well, and unfortunately his plane crashed on the side of a mountain and the flames slowly engulfed him, and this was all due to bad weather. During that time, planes were not equipped with the technology that they're equipped with now. The planes the South African Air Force flew on that day was the F-51 Mustang. That was the predominant plane that they flew. However, they did, later in the war, they flew the F-86 Sabre. They operated mostly out of K-10 airfield in Jinhae, and the first airfield they operated out of, or they flew out of, was the K9 airfield in Busan. And the UN forces also occupied Pyongyang, North Korea, for a short period of time. And when that happened, the South African Air Force operated out of K24 airfield in Pyongyang. They did many amazing things. There was this pilot also in September 1951 whose last name was Grunder. He shot down a lot of key North Korean and Chinese anti-aircraft artillery. But his plane was damaged from the artillery, but he refused to go back to base. He kept shooting down artillery and kept shooting down the artillery even when his plane was damaged. And unfortunately, he died during the Korean War, but again, his sacrifice is not in vain. So God bless these brave South African pilots. So hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless, and bye-bye. Bye-bye.
South Africa dispatched its Air Force fighter squadron to Korea as the 11th United Nations ally during the Korean War. The South African Air Force personnel took over 16 F-51 fighters from the United States Air Force in Japan and arrived at Uyong Air Base in Busan on November 16, 1950. South African air troops were under control of the 18th U.S. Fighter Bomber Wing. They moved their base around Pyongyang, Suwon, Jinhae, Hwangtong as the war situation demanded, and launched combined air operations with the U.S. Air Force. Through a total of 12,400 sorties, the South African Air Forces bombed the enemy's industrial facilities behind the battle line, and cut the enemy's main supply routes along railroads and bridges, launching extensive air operations, including close air support operations for United Nations Command ground advances as it worked. The Air Force replaced its F-51 Mustangs with F-86 fighters in early 1953 and launched air battles against communist MiG-15 fighters. After the Armistice Agreement was signed on July 27, 1953, the South African Air Forces passed the fighter aircraft over to U.S. Air Forces and left Korea in October 1953. During the war, South Africa sent 826 Air Force personnel to Korea, and 35 of them gave their lives for freedom and peace in Korea.